The following is a presentation of WVUA Sports.
Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
What a way for the Alabama Crimson Tide to start the home portion of the schedule at Bryant-Denny Stadium. The Tide shut down and shut out the Florida Atlantic Owls 41-0 in a game shortened by lightning. Now, there was a lot of good things that we saw in this one, and we'll talk about it all in the next 30 minutes right here on TITV. And good evening, everybody. Welcome in to another Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock, alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm Gary Harris. Pepsi next again. As I said, Buffalo Rock was gracious enough to bring us about a 3 or 4 month supply. So
we still have a 3 or 4 month supply.
Well,
you didn't take any home.
Well, I just drink a couple here on occasion, but
I got you.
Oh, that's icy good. Remember to pick up some Pepsi the next time you're at your local grocer. All that great Pepsi taste, 2/3 less calories than regular Pepsi. Well, Rodney, a game that we expected. Alabama gets the job done, takes care of Florida Atlantic. And, again, I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. It is what it is. This is an overmatched opponent. At the same time, you can still be sloppy against an overmatched opponent. And for the most part, Alabama was sharp.
They were. I mean, they came out crisp. Gary offensively took charge right away, had 3 great drives in a row led by Blake Sims. And, his passing was crisp, and he made some good decisions. As we mentioned in one of our updates the other day on TI.com, seeing him run was something that we really haven't seen much of, that threat. Got in the red zone down there, got 3rd and goal at the 6, and he pulled it down and made something happen. And I think that's a valuable asset to have, just kind of an additional thing that we haven't seen.
41-0, the game called at the 7:53 mark of the 4th quarter because of lightning. The head coach was pleased with the win, but he did see some teaching points to pass along to his team.
I like the intensity that we played with, but I also think that there's a lot of things that we did well. But also some mistakes that we made, which would be critical, whether it was what we did right before the end of the half, taking a sack when we could have kicked a field goal, calling the wrong play basically and fumbling the ball on the opening drive of the second half. Some of those types of things are not the kind of things that you'd like to happen, but are opportunities for our players to learn.
Here's a look at some of the numbers from the game. Amari Cooper continues to put up video game numbers in the Lane Kiffin offense. He tied the school record for receptions and only played about 2.5 quarters. It was the 3rd straight time Alabama's offense has gone over the 500-yard mark dating back to the Sugar Bowl. And the defense keeps on shutting teams down. That's the 12th first-half shutout in the last 19 games. That's amazing in this era of all the points that are being scored. And Alabama has scored in 171 straight games, so some good numbers right there. Rodney, let's talk again about the positives that you take out of this performance against a team that was, just wasn't up to par as far as a talent, standpoint. But Alabama did some good things, as we said earlier, and there's some things that they can draw on going forward from that game.
Yeah, I think when you look at it offensively, we talked about Blake Sims. He continues to improve. I thought Jacob Coker getting more of an opportunity certainly was valuable for him as they move forward. You look at the offensive line, I think they continue to develop and do things in a good manner. And, Gary, they're going to be very important as we move down the stretch, that offensive line, as they continue to develop.
Disappointing that they didn't get to play that final 7:53. That would have been, probably 15, 20 more snaps for, those young guys and a chance to make some plays.
Yeah, but it was also good defensively to see some of the younger guys get in. We saw Tony Brown get in the game. We saw Rashawn Evans, Tim Williams. All of those guys have a lot of potential. How about the flash that Rashawn Evans shows off the edge as a pass rusher? Yeah,
indeed. He's got a lot of talent. All right, we move on from Florida Atlantic. We'll look at the offense and defense specifically and what they did in that game coming up. But right now, we'll look ahead. Now, the opponent this week is a familiar one to those of us who have covered and cheered for Alabama for quite some time. The Southern Mississippi Golden Eagles come to town. And Rod, remember when this was basically an annual game throughout the 80s into the 90s, even into the early 2000s. And of course, it was a great rivalry. You remember Reggie Collier in 82,
Absolutely.
Brett Favre in 1990, Tyrone Prothrow's catch in 2005 in a close game. But that now seems a long time ago in more ways than one. This Southern Miss team has only won 2 games over the last 2+ seasons total.
You know what's hard to believe? What's it been, 9 years since they played?
Yeah, 2005.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the pro throw catch game.
That was the pro throw catch game.
Yeah. And Southern Miss's program's really slipped over the last couple of years. You know, they were, what, 12-1 3 years ago?
Yeah.
And, you know, went 0-12 the next year, whatever it was, and they struggled last year. And I know Todd Monken's trying to get things turned around. And, you know, Gary, they've won 2 of their last 3. I mean, that's a start. They snapped an 11-game home losing streak against Alcorn last Saturday, but you know, it's a team that, again, it's a program that's struggled.
You know, they've got an offensive coordinator, used to be the head coach at Spain Park. Their quarterback is from Spain Park, but you know, the one thing they maybe have going for them is they do play that wide open spread attack similar to Texas A&M in terms of philosophy, and you know, everybody says that gives Nick Saban some trouble, and the coach says that you know what, you have to really pay attention to detail when you get ready for this team.
A lot of 4 wideouts, a lot of Texas A&M like, you know, to give people something to compare it to. You know, Todd Monken has done a really good job wherever he's been as offensive coordinator, and they certainly can be explosive and score a lot of points.
And like we said, a very familiar opponent for Alabama. They played 41 times, the most recent in 2005, 30-21 tie. That was, as you mentioned, Rodney, the pro throw catch game, one of the best we've ever seen. So a lot of history between these two clubs. USM has had a little bit of success. They've won a couple times in Tuscaloosa. Well, stay tuned. Still much more to come on TITV, including a look inside a history-making day from Alabama's quarterbacks. And next we go inside both the offense and defense, talk about the progression from Game 1 to Game 2. And coming up, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. You see the information on the screen, 205-348-9882. Email us at TITV@WVUATV.com or reach out to us on Twitter with the hashtag TiderInsiderTV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. The one, the only Tider Insider TV returns after this. With all the controversy that swirled around the quarterback position in the offseason and even through last week, Alabama's 2 signal callers calmly put in a historic performance on the field Saturday against FAU. 416 yards passing between the 2 of them, second all-time in Alabama history. Blake Sims and Jake Coker became the first pair of Alabama quarterbacks to throw for 200 yards in the same game ever. They also came up just 68 yards short of Scott Hunter's passing record, which they might have broken if the game had not been shortened by lightning. And speaking of the quarterbacks, former Crimson Tide signal caller Philip Ely was having a good game and a great season against Missouri until his knee just gave out when he went to plant. Man, that hurts to look at. He tore his ACL. He'll miss the rest of the season. Of course, best wishes go out to him for a recovery because he was really playing well for the Rockets. Well, it was a great offensive performance for Alabama against maybe a team that's not so great, but many positives have we already talked about, Rodney, and let's analyze the offense a little bit in their first 2 games. Not a lot to go on, but again, they've proven they can score points. They've proven they can roll up big yardage totals. Here are some of the numbers, you know, and it's, you know, over 1,100 total yards of offense so far, Rodney. Regardless of who the quarterback's been, they've moved it. Amari Cooper is just really tearing it up. 25
catches in 2 games. You know, you tied DJ Hall's record, which DJ set in 2007 for single game record for receptions with 13. He had 12. Obviously, Amari had 12 against West Virginia too. So, you know, he's getting a lot of opportunities. I think Blake Sims has done a great job. We talked about that. And the offensive line, I mean, you really, you know, really didn't know what to expect with a true freshman Cameron Robinson starting there at left tackle, you know, kind of having a battle with Leon Brown and Shank Taylor at the right guard spot. So there were some questions just how cohesive this unit might be up front initially. But, you know, they've done a really good job. You know, they've done a good job in the running game. Alabama had 2 100-yard rushers in the first game, 200-yard passers in the second game. So I think offensively, Alabama's done a very good job to start the season.
Closer look at the numbers. Amari Cooper certainly likes working in the Lane Kiffin offense. He's off to an incredible start. The Tide 9th nationally in total offense at 579 yards per game. And remember, again, they didn't play the final 7:53 of the game against Florida Atlantic. Well, Brian Vogler spoke to the media on Monday about how the offense, while it's doing well, can improve going forward into the Southern Miss game.
There's stuff we want to get back. Obviously, losing the ball on the 1 yard line hurt us pretty bad, but you know, it's something we can improve on. You know, there's a lot of bright spots, a lot of things we did really well, but you know, it gives us a standpoint of where we are as an offense and where we want to improve.
And Rod, as far as the defense is concerned, quite a bit of criticism following Game 1 against West Virginia when Clint Trickett lit up the defense for nearly 400 yards passing. But this past Saturday, Trey DePriest back at linebacker, Eddie Jackson back at corner, and a much better performance in Game 2. Again, a shutout, regardless of who you're playing. That's what it's all about.
There's Rashawn getting that first pressure there that he almost got the sack, and then, yeah, I thought they played a lot better. I thought Eddie Jackson kind of solidified things at the corner, made a couple of big hits, stripped the ball, caused a fumble that Alabama recovered, so that certainly was big. And, you know, he's just a playmaker. And then you look at, you talked about the return of Trey DePriest. There didn't seem nearly as much confusion. Again, I understand the competition was a little bit different, but still, at the same time, I thought Alabama looked a little bit more sure of themselves defensively. And
here's a look at the very impressive numbers for the Tide defense going back to 2008. It's the 31st time that Alabama has held an opponent under 200 yards. Folks, that's hard to do. I mean, it really is in this day and age. It's remarkable, actually. Jonathan Allen, the defensive end out of Virginia, told us on Monday that communication has been key to the improvement. You kind of alluded to that with Trey DePriest back from Game 1 to Game 2.
That's probably one of the most important factors to be a good defense. If you don't have good communication, it's almost impossible to be a good defense. So I feel like we've done a good job in that, but there's always room for improvement. So we're going to go out there and keep working on it, you know, turn the noise control on in the during practice to work on that. So I feel like that's something everybody can get better at.
And much more coming your way on TITV, including a look at how some former Tide players did in Week 1 in the National Football League. And next, we're welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. You see the information on the screen. We'll be answering the phone, checking the email, and certainly logged into Twitter. So send us a question or a comment, and we will get it on. We're right back with Tider Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock. Stay with us. Let's check in on Bama stars in the National Football League. Julio Jones back from that foot injury, and he went for over 100 yards and receptions. He did have that fumble, which had a big game as Falcons beat the Saints. On the other side, Mark Ingram had a couple of touchdowns. What about Wallace Gilberry? Remember him? Yep. Only 1 year under Nick Saban, but he had a couple of sacks, including that one that they're showing that guy, but it's really Gilberry who got the sack that clinched the victory for his Bengals against the Ravens. All right, let's head to the Med Center hotline for the first time this evening. And you know what? Special treat. We've got our buddy BT, Bill Taylor, on the line in Tuscaloosa. What's up, BT?
Not much, Gary and Rodney. How about y'all?
We're all right.
BT.
I thought, you know, Jake Coker played really well. He'll progress better as he gets better.
No doubt, BT. He did play really well. But I think we also, if we're objective, saw why Blake Sims has been the starter. Talent's oozing out of Jake Coker's body. You can see that. But he hasn't played a lot of football. He's new to the system. Sims has a better command of the huddle, makes better reads, goes through his progressions better. And I think that both played well. But, I mean, I think if anything came out of that game, it's that Coker's talented, but Sims is the guy that's leading that football team right now. Well, it's
like Nick Saban said early on. You know, Blake Sims is more confident. He's more comfortable. And you could see that. Again, Coker needs some time, some development, and, you know, some reps. And I think you could kind of see him getting more comfortable as time went along in the game. And, you know, Blake Sims is talented, too, extremely talented. I mean, he's throwing the ball a lot better than a lot of people thought he would or predicted that he would. You know, he's managing the offense really well for the most part, it appears. And also, Gary, that element of running the football, pulling it down, and he's avoided some sacks. He's avoided some pressure and made some throws. So I think he's been extremely impressive.
Sims is leading the nation in passing efficiency.
Yeah, 76% of his passes he's completing, too, and you can't ask for a lot better than that. Now, again, he's been extremely impressive.
We'll see them both again on Saturday against Southern Miss. All right, let's stay here in Tuscaloosa and talk to Joseph. What's up, Joseph?
Hey, what's up, partners? How y'all feeling today, man?
We're all right, my friend.
Man, I'll tell you what. Man, the way Amari Cooper's playing, if he continues to play like he's playing, now, wouldn't y'all want to consider him a Heisman candidate if he continues to play like
that?
Yeah,
he keeps putting up these kind of numbers. He's going to be a Heisman candidate. Now, you got to keep in mind, it's going to get tougher. I mean, they're going to get into the SEC and play against defenses that aren't going to miss as many tackles as these two defenses they played against have missed. And he's a great player. Yes, if he keeps putting up these kind of numbers, I think he'll be a Heisman candidate. But his numbers are going to probably tail off a little bit. But he's a great football player, and I think deserves to be in the Heisman conversation, although I don't like even talking about it this early in the year.
Yeah. It's too early.
Yeah.
I mean, it's way too early. And again, I think Alabama's going to be balanced. I think they're going to spread the ball around. I mean, they have a lot of really good receivers. We haven't even seen O.J. Howard touch the ball yet, and I think we're going to see that as time goes on. So they're going to spread the ball around, and obviously, I think we're going to see more of the running game, kind of like we did in the first game. But so they've got a lot of weapons.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right, let's get on Twitter. I know BJ loves this. What we got for us here from Kyle? Do you think we'll see Chris Black's role continue to grow this year? 5 TDs on roughly 15 touches last year. Rodney, I do. I think he's a talented guy. Kind of an opening this past week with DeAndre White's injury. DeAndre's making a quick comeback, but I think Black's role is going to grow. I think, as Kyle said, he's a playmaker.
Yeah, and you know, Nick Saban said he probably deserves to play more. So I think that's kind of an indication of what's to come, Kyle. I think he's a very talented player, and I think, you know, also with Christian Jones going down, even though he's expected back in practice, he should be okay with just a bruised ankle. I think, you know, you could still continue to see Chris Black's role increase. He's a playmaker.
All right, more coming your way on Tider Insider Television. Next, we go inside the defensive numbers a little bit further, and it's even more impressive as you look at the shutout numbers under Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. And coming up, more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the information posted there on your screen. Phone lines are open. Twitter's always open, and the email is a way that you can reach us as well. So stay tuned. We'll be back with more TITV right after this. With the rise of offensive production in college football at an amazing pace, there's nothing more impressive than a defensive shutout these days. Alabama's had quite a few under Nick Saban. That includes this past Saturday against the Owls of Florida Atlantic. It was the 14th shutout under Nick Saban at Alabama. And 50 times under Saban, Alabama has held an opponent under 10 points. The FAU shutout was the 8th since 2012. And Rod, I mean, I can't stress to you, that's amazing. Yeah. And the number of touchdowns that Alabama has given up, 36 fewer than any other team in the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think Alabama's given up, 92 touchdowns in the last 69 games.
Yeah,
they've given up 92.
Nobody else even close.
LSU's next at 130.
Gosh,
so
unbelievable.
That's quite a difference.
All right, you ready for more phone calls?
Sure.
Back to the Med Center hotline we go, and let's talk to Eddie and Coker. Hey, Eddie, what's going on? Eddie, you with us? All right, Eddie wanted to know, do y'all have his question up there, BJ? I can't. All right, you want to know about the tight ends and when we can expect more production from them.
Again, who knows? I can't predict that, but I think that certainly we're going to see O.J. Howard get more involved. Brian Vogler, Ty Flanoy-Smith had a reception in Saturday's game. So, yeah, I think it's just a matter of time, to be quite honest.
All right, let's try to get Roger on the Med Center hotline. Roger in Tuscaloosa, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, good, Roger.
All I say is, whoever rolls the Tide best, let them roll. If it's a freshman, if one of the new guys come in or whatever, let them roll. So that's what we want to see, and roll Tide. It's all about the Tide. It ain't about people. It's about the Tide. The players are the team, and we love them.
All right, Roger.
Let them protect them, but
great points. And listen, as long as Nick Saban's head football coach, I don't think you have to worry about that. He's going to play the best guys,
and I
right?
think that's the right attitude.
Yeah, great attitude. All right, let's get to an email. And this one comes to us from Rick and Hoover of the young offensive lineman who could emerge as a future star. Well, obviously Cam Robinson is at the top of that list, but we've talked about him so much he's already a starter. And who's some other guys maybe that you could look at that down the road could be really good players?
Well, I think, they recruited really well on the offensive line this past year. Ross Pierschbacher, I think certainly out of the state of Iowa, is a top prospect. He's a guy that kind of entered the season on the 2 deep. Whether or not he'll play this year remains to be seen. I would think maybe not. Josh Casher, certainly a guy, another guy that was highly recruited. J.C. Hassenauer, I think they're happy with all those guys. Bradley Bozeman seems to be coming on. Gary's a redshirt freshman, a guy that came in last year and redshirted, and he's really the backup center right now. He played some against FAU on Saturday. So, again, I think they've got a really good group, a nucleus of young offensive linemen.
It's a lot of talent there, no doubt about it. Well, coming up next, a preview of this weekend's Crimson Tide kickoff with a look at the Southern Mississippi-Alabama connection. Plus, we'll give you our picks for the Southern Miss game. Stay with us. Tider Insider TV. We'll be right back. This week on Crimson Tide Kickoff, presented by Alpha Insurance, B.J. Milliken brings us another installment of Milliseconds. It's with former Spain Park quarterback Nick Mullins and his former Spain Park head coach Chip Lindsey. They're both at Southern Mississippi now, and they talked about coming home to Alabama this weekend. That should be fun.
As a kid, you think about playing in those kind of stadiums and, you know, have that experience, you know. So it's pretty cool to go out there and be able to get that opportunity to play. You know, I'll certainly have all my friends, you know, give me beef about it and things like that, you know. But it'll be cool to see them out there and just get the opportunity to play in one of the greatest stadiums.
See the entire feature story at 11 a.m. this coming Saturday on Crimson Tide Kickoff, live from the University of Alabama. Well, it's time to make our weekly predictions. And Rodney, remember when this game used to be a worrisome one for the Crimson Tide? Anything to worry about this coming Saturday?
Well, I don't know, maybe.
Well, tell us about it.
Well, certainly I think Alabama's the better team, Gary. I don't think there's any question about that. Southern Miss is a struggling program. They're not what they were in the early 80s by any stretch of the imagination. There's no Reggie Collier and no nasty bunch defense, as they used to call them. I think Alabama clearly should handle the Golden Eagles 44-7.
Well, I'm with you. Reggie Collier not walking through that door. Brett Favre not walking through that door. Sammy Winder not walking through that door. You know, they've had some great players at Southern Mississippi, guys that went on to be great things in the NFL. And it is hard to believe that in 2011 that was a 12-win team. Ellis Johnson took care of that in 1 year and went from 12-1 to 0-12. But this is a team that I think Todd Monken has them coached well. They just don't have enough players right now. They are, chance they're going to make some plays in the football game, but this should be all Alabama. I'm right with you. The Crimson Tide should roll. I like it 48-6, and wouldn't be shocked if the Tide pitched another shutout, but we shall find out on Saturday. Thanks to the Locker Room for outfitting Rodney and I in original elephant wear. The Locker Room, a Tuscaloosa tradition since 1964. Visit them online or in person on the University Strip. And it's dinner time tonight. We're headed to see our good friend Philip Guy and all the good folks at Buddy's Rib and Steak in Northport. We'll be out there in about 15-20 minutes. Come by and talk some football and enjoy a steak with us. You're welcome. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching Tider Insider TV, and have a good night from Tuscaloosa.